Accessibility and the three bears of AI, artificial intelligence. I am Glenda Sims. I often introduce myself as the good witch of accessibility. I have the great fortune of working at DeQ, where I'm the Chief Information Accessibility Officer. And I've been doing this digital accessibility thing since the 1990s. So I live and breathe accessibility, and it's just a joy to be here. So let's get started and talk about what I'm going to focus on in this hour. I want us to have a shared definition of artificial intelligence, and then see how artificial intelligence and digital accessibility are working together today. And I want to address some clear and present dangers of AI. And then I'm going to give you a concrete example of ethical artificial intelligence in digital accessibility today. And if you aren't aware of it, introduce you to the Goldilocks zone. So as we're getting started, I'd like y'all to play with me in chat for just a moment. And on a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 is, I hate AI and I don't want to use it, and 10 is, give me more. I love AI and I use it every minute of every day. How comfortable are you using AI today? Love it, love it, love it. I'm going to throw in my number 2. I'm at a 9. And I just wanted you to do this so that as we go through this, you may already be, I saw an 11 flow by, 110. And I want to see within your own heart and your own mind, does your number change over this presentation? So here we go. What is AI? What is artificial intelligence? Well, as I began my own journey on understanding what AI is, it's really just a computer that's performing tasks on their own without a human guiding it at that very moment. And in the past, we would have considered those tasks to only be something a human could do. It may have to do with visual perception, speech recognition, decision-making, translating between languages, and more. So as we think about this world of AI, I was cautious and not ready to play. And then I forced myself to take a course so that I could understand it deeper. And one of the things that really helped me was to understand the difference between AI that is considered narrow, weak, versus AI that's general or strong. This narrow or weak AI it's inferior to humans. That kind of makes us feel a little better, right? We're not about to be replaced by a robot. It can solve one narrow problem, very specific problem, and there are really a ton of real world examples today. In contrast, general or strong AI is equal or better to human intelligence. And I'm not sure it completely exists today. I'm not an expert in AI. There are other people in my company that are. They're formally trained in it. But it really helped me to understand there are really two different categories of artificial intelligence. And there are people that I work with that they throw these other words around all the time: machine learning and computer vision. And then they don't even use the whole word. They start saying ML or CV. And I'm like, I'm not even sure what those things mean. But I understand now machine learning is the computer processing, analyzing, and interpreting data in many cases, it's using a very structured database, curated and tagged by real humans. So if you think about it today, I wonder how many emails have been filtered into our spam folders so that we didn't have to dig through the junk. That's machine learning. It's looking at a curated and tagged database of emails that are spam. It's also adding to it when you and I go, oh, here's a spam that made it through the filter. I don't want to see that one. And then it adds it to its database. So machine learning is just processing, analyzing, and interpreting data. And computer vision visual. We have structured databases of visual data curated and tagged by real humans. An example of happening in our day-to-day life is facial recognition. When I pick up my phone, I don't have to type in a code. I don't have to touch the screen. It's reading my face. It's looking at my face. So machine learning and computer vision do have some over, and they're all a part of artificial intelligence. But I want to go back for a second and say, when I'm talking about artificial intelligence today, I'm talking about narrow, weak artificial intelligence. I'm not talking about the better than a human AI. So take just one more moment, the importance of supervised and reinforced machine learning. Example of spam. Machine learning, very focused on spam. Here's that structured database, decision model created by humans, and then you and I giving positive or negative feedback. What was so funny is that when I went to create the slide, I thought, I wonder how many spam emails were filtered out of my email in the last 30 days. It was over 200. And I dug through there and it was pretty dang accurate. And Navisha, really sorry, for some reason you ended up in my spam. And so I had to go in. I found a real email that fell into spam and I undid it. So supervised database constantly being reinforced by you and I saying this belonged there, this didn't. And how using when you're searching your own photos. I remember instead of scrolling through some cat in my iPhone, I can literally type cat over in photos and it brings up all these cat photos. Okay, I have 2 cats. They're really funny. And occasionally I'll copy a meme into my photo library. And it scanned the other day over 12,000 photos in my library for cat. It found over 100, and it only found 1 photo that it marked as cat that wasn't a cat. For those of you who can see the screen, there's a silly picture of me wearing a unicorn horn with a rainbow ring around my head, and over my shoulder is a giant cardboard cutout of a what? It's a giant squirrel. So Apple got it wrong and it thought that was a cat, but it was so much faster than me scrolling through that myself. I find this really useful. And in these little pictures, if you happen to be able to see my screen, there's even a picture of my big, fluffy, gray Maine Coon on her back with her paws, and you can barely see her face, and it still recognized that is a cat. Indeed, it is a cat. So I'm starting to recognize that I'm using a lot of narrow artificial intelligence on the daily. Yeah, you can ask me questions about my giant squirrel. He is such a party animal. He loves to float the crowd, and he's a really good dancer. I'm serious. As you think about where you're using narrow and weak AI today, think about if you drive, are you using it in your car? lane keep assist, blind spot indicators, collision avoidance. Face ID I talked about on the phone, predictive text is narrow AI. Spam filtering, fraud detection. My credit card got stolen again. The credit card company found out before I did. That charge didn't look right. Artificial intelligence reading my records, going, that didn't make sense, and alerting me. We could go on. Smart speakers, where we're talking to the speaker, talking to my Alexa. She's not in the room, she can't hear me. Natural language processing, image recognition, tagging different people in photos, being able to search using the image. Oh my gosh, I can tell Google to search for this thing and it'll find it. Just take a picture of it. Computers can see now, y'all. Well, they have the ability to analyze visual data. And sound recognition, I know that it's really awesome that this conference has human captioners. Sometimes organizations aren't able to do that. And automatic captions and transcriptions have improved. Are they as good as human? No, but they are improving. Filtering out background noises. How many times have you been on a Zoom call lately where someone's like, oh, I am so sorry. Can you hear all that hammering in the background? And everybody on the call is like, no, because AI filtered it out. Now, as we look at this, I am talking about the positive, and there is a comment that's just come up in chat about some bad things that have happened with AI, and I'm going to return to that because I even have it listed on one of the following slides. So these are some places I'm using AI on the regular, and I don't want you to take it away from me ever. Now, there's some other interesting toys out there right now. Generative AI. Generative AI is a little bit different. It can learn from existing artifacts and generate new realistic things at scale that are reflective of the data that trained it, but don't repeat it. So this will include things like ChatGPT and GitHub Copilot for writing code. And how many of you have toyed with things like Adobe Firefly and Adobe Express? I generated some of the images for this presentation by going over to an Adobe product and typing in the words strong looking robot to get exactly what I needed. Generated for me using generative AI. It can produce content including text, software, code, images, video, music, and speech. So, are you ready for the artificial intelligence tsunami? Because ready or not, it is already hitting our accessibility shores. And this is so important that we not wait. If at the end of this presentation, you still think it's okay to wait, I beg you, go Google South 20, because in her presentation, which was one of the most popular presentations at South by this year, Amy is saying it is the end of the internet as you know it. We've already entered the assistive computer era. So much change is happening right now. We can't sit back and watch. And then she hands you a tool and you'll get a good giggle if you watch the presentation. The tool's name is ADM. She refers to it as Adam. And it's Act decide, and monitor. We really, as an accessibility industry, have to act, decide, and monitor to prioritize what we're going to do. Now, on the next screen, I am showing a diagram that Amy handed out at South by this year about act, decide, and monitor. And I've applied Amy's decision table here to artificial intelligence in our industry. So this is my interpretation of how we need to do this. If we don't act on some of these things, there is risk without action. Right now, there is unseen immediate benefit to accessibility. And if we don't take advantage of it, we're silly. The inflection point, this big change, is not only imminent, it happened.
Hey, Glenn, your internet's cutting out a little bit. Could you
Yes.
try turning your video off? We'll see if that just improves it just for a
Yep.
little bit. Okay, I'll mute.
Okay. All right. Is this a little better, Jay? Good. So in the near term, we have to look at opportunities or risks that could disrupt or could provide meaningful impact for accessibility. And then what are some things further on down the road that could pose novel risks or novel positive impact? We can no longer be a spectator to artificial intelligence. We can't be this year or ever again. It would be like 20 years ago saying the internet isn't important, I'm gonna ignore it. We can't. We have to look at what can AI do for us, for accessibility, and for the world. In a moment, I will talk about the dangers, but I still want to focus on the positive. Narrow AI can optimize accessibility testing. We can get computers to look at rendered UI. Karen just showed you design systems. We can teach AI, narrow AI, the design systems, and have it look to see, is that a table cell? Is that thing supposed to be a button, but it's not keyboard accessible? Oh, look, there's text inside an image that doesn't meet color contrast. We can teach, we have taught computers to reliably do this. It can sift, AI can sift through mountains of data to pinpoint what needs human review. I think it is our imperative that we must use narrow AI to automate more accessibility testing. If the decision being made is simple, if it's something that you could teach a 12-year-old human with a simple decision model to correctly pass or fail WCAG for this thing, and there's tons of we could use to train. If we're not making those artificial intelligence testing available now, we're hurting accessibility. We have reliably taught in our organization how to find keyboard inaccessible buttons. You know, that thing that was created with a div that didn't have a role and only works with a mouse. A computer can go, hey, this really looks like a button. But when I try to trigger it, when the computer tries to trigger it with a keyboard only, it's not working. And it can reliably say, this is a keyboard failure. Things that I would have told you 20, 30 years ago were impossible are absolutely possible today. So I haven't been monitoring chat for the past few minutes. And I'm not sure how many of you that answered low numbers on our trust AI have been saying things in the chat, but I do want to switch and address the real and present dangers of artificial intelligence, because there is a lot of danger here. And what I'm about to talk about, if you weren't prepared for me to talk about it, is some bias and some discrimination. And if you don't like those topics, you might want to put me on mute for a little while, go get a coffee break, because those are some of the real and present dangers. So here we go. The three bears that we got to watch out for in artificial intelligence are ethics, unethical behavior, bias, and over and under reliance. So what do I mean when I say ethics? Well, the United Nations has a quote that I thought was really fitting. There is no other field where the ethical compass is more relevant than artificial intelligence. These general purpose technologies are reshaping the way we work, interact, and live. The world is set to change at a pace not seen since the deployment of the printing press 6 centuries ago. That really struck me. This is how monumental this change is with the introduction of artificial intelligence into our society. And without ethical guardrails, the risks for reproducing real-world bias and discrimination is horrible. And y'all, we have to be involved to make sure that doesn't happen. We can't sit by, we can't watch, we can't wait. And I'm going to be cautious as I tackle this slide. There are quite a bit of ethical questions in some of the uses of AI. An excellent expert and a person I hold in high esteem, Adrian Roselli, is being sued by a company who has overlays that uses AI. He's being sued for stating his opinion and facts. Because I don't want to be sued, I'm not going to say too much more, but I will say, if you want to read more about this, if you just look at Lainey Feingold's website, you'll find an article, New Low in the Accessibility Quote Industry. Overlay company sues globally recognized accessibility expert, Adrian Roselli. And I do believe it is going, that case will end well. I am hopeful that it will end well, and that Adrian will not have to, justice will prevail. But there are some people misusing artificial intelligence, in my opinion. And if you're not aware of it, I saw when I went to use the Wave, which is a tool that I've been using for ages, I went and ran a web page on the Wave. And this was a few months ago. I do not think this is happening right now, but there was another company that had third-party widget integration. And when it was on a website, it would fake out the Wave results. It would show that there were 0 accessibility errors. It was actually faking out the Wave. And the reason I found out about it is one of my coworkers said, "Oh my gosh, is this true?" Yes, it was absolutely 100% true. And the next question I was asked was, is it also faking out Axe dev tools? And it wasn't. It was literally targeting Wave. And this is my opinion. When people are suing, Wave is a super easy way to tell if there's a failure or not on a web page. And so that's why 2 overlay companies that were using AI were also faking out the Wave. I think that's unethical behavior. That's my opinion, and I'll move on. So, are there bad things happening with AI? Yes, there are. If we look at something as simple as resume screening with artificial intelligence, there can be biases inside that resume screening that prevent people that are properly qualified from making it through, and that's unexcusable. Facial recognition had a big problem when it first came out. What kind of data was it trained on? People with light skin. What did it do when it saw people with dark skin? It hadn't been trained properly, and so the facial recognition was failing. That's bad. Bank loan approvals. There have been cases that show that artificial intelligence used in some bank loan approvals were discriminating. And here I have garbage in, garbage out. Because what all of this is when you design a system to be biased, or you design a system without a diversity, a representative diversity of data, you're going to get garbage out. We as an industry have to watch this. And in my opinion, if we throw AI out because some people did some stupid things with us, we're not helping anybody. We have to ethically counter the bias. We have to identify and zero out the bias factors that exist either in the decision models or in the data that's been fed. Our data needs to be inclusive so that it includes the needs of people with disabilities. There has to be transparency in where that data is coming from and audits by real humans to make sure that bias hasn't crept in on purpose or by accident. And one of the best ways to do that is to hire diverse people into your workforce so that we have equality and representation in the people that are creating these things. This is important. We have to do this because what if we could use artificial intelligence to model decisions that are ethical and consistently support human rights? How dare we not do that? The impact will be positively profound. And I don't know about y'all, but I've been in this business for more than 25 years. And I've been trying to teach people to do the right things. It's hard to teach people to do the right things and to make sure they do it. When I'm able to design a computer program, a decision model, and feed it the right data, I could get it right every single time. We can take AI and use it for good. So The first bear was ethics. The second bear was bias. The third bear is over or under reliance. You know, I'm not sure I'm ready to get into a car that drives itself without any input or control from me. But now that I've been in cars that lane keep assist and collision avoidance and all that good stuff, I don't ever want to drive without those features. So I'm going to suggest that everything for AI or nothing with AI, that neither of those are correct. Just like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, we're looking for what is just right. Now, before I start to show you some concrete examples, I want to bring you to this question. Are we winning at accessibility? So these friends of mine at WebAIM, they have this fabulous research that they do. The WebAIM Million in 2023, 96.3% of home pages had at least one automated detected WCAG2 failure. I'm not satisfied, y'all. That's not winning. How many decades have we been doing this? I want to cry. Are we ever going to achieve digital accessibility if we keep trying to solve it the same way we've been trying to solve it? I don't think so. I think that the number of web pages, the number of screens being developed while we're in this session, that the volume is too much for us to ever get on top of if we insist on doing everything manually, when we really, really can and must teach narrow artificial intelligence so it can help us use our limited resources wisely. So, quiz time. In chat, give me the answers to 1, 2, 3, and 4, true, false. Number 1, accessibility can be fully automated today to test for WCAG 2.1 AA issues and fix them all, keeping a website accessible at all times. Number 2, there are many real-world examples of weak and narrow AI, providing reasonably good accuracy today. Number 3, machine learning and computer vision are worthless to use in accessibility testing today. 4, a company that sells an AI accessibility solution sued an accessibility expert to stop him from expressing his professional opinions about the dangers of overlays. Answers. See, a lot of y'all have been paying attention. Accessibility cannot, number 1, is false. It cannot be fully automated. Anytime you see that on a website, run and report them for being unethical. There are many real-world examples. Number 2 is true. 3, machine learning and computer vision, please don't throw it out. We need to use it. And 4 is true. Adrian Roselli has been sued. So I'm going to give you examples of something that I can get deep into the data with, and that's ethical AI in accessibility today and the way it's being used where I'm working. DeQ has invested in AI for the purpose of digital equality. Our approach, and anyone's good approach to AI, needs to be human-centric. We're looking for the greatest accuracy and the highest ROI. Highest ROI for who? People with disabilities. Let's break down those barriers. And we have a dedicated team of human experts that happen to be data scientists and machine learning engineers. They are trained in artificial intelligence. They have degrees in these fields. Now, once you get past bullet number 1 and bullet number 2, where human-centric ethical use of artificial intelligence by real humans, data is important. How big is your data store? Our data store at DeQ is over 5 million individual objects labeled. Very high quality and growing every minute. What's an object? This is a picture of a button and the code for that button, and it's accessible. This is a picture of a button and the code for that button, and it is not accessible. We've got over 5 million of those across many different data elements. And then the most important piece is allowing humans to overrule and teach our AI. So let's take a peek at where this is now in this real world example. And before I do that, Noah Barrel is one of our artificial intelligence experts, and he says this: human-centered AI is an emerging discipline intent on creating AI systems that amplify and augment rather than displace human abilities. AI is not here to take your job, y'all. It's here to help us make the world and the web accessible with the extremely limited human resources that we have. So, are you ready to meet your friendly AI accessibility assistant? This real world example is available in Axe Dev Tools today. It sits over in the Intelligent Guided Tested area, so IGTs. And the reason I'm giving you this example is I know it, and I can get all the way back into the data, and I can go ask the data scientists questions, because this is where I work. We use narrow AI in intelligent guided tests to auto-detect WCAG issues that in the past weren't possible to auto-detect. And sometimes we can be certain with those questions. Sometimes we can't. And so when we can't be certain, we can ask you a focus question to say, hey, human brain, come look over here. The benefits of this is that we're able to check more automatedly and accurately than I ever would have imagined a decade ago. Accessibility testing can be faster, and it has to be faster. And then you and I get to focus our limited brain power on items that the AI can't learn or hasn't learned yet. And so this is in general where I'm going to go. Now let's get into the specifics of one that I'm super excited about. Understanding complex color contrast situations. Okay. I lived in the day of accessibility before we even had automated color contrast tools for anything. And then I remember when the first ones came through, and what they were doing is they were testing text that was a single color against a background of a single color. And we now have that done very well for us. But what about the complex ones? What about when you have gradient text, like the rainbow of colors across letters, on maybe even a gradient background. You know, I don't know about you, but it just makes my brain freeze over as I have to pull out the little dropper tool and do the little, where do I think it meets and where does it not meet? And it just takes so much time. We can actually teach AI to do this, and we have. Automatically calculating the range of color contrast values and determining as many as we can with AI. This is expensive computing that we're doing. And so we currently have this capability not in our free stuff, but it saves tons of human time. How about when we look at form labels and the text associated with them? We can teach, and it was really interesting as I was watching Karen's design system. We can teach AI our design systems and then have it go look and see, is this form the right label for this field? And in our models, what we're doing is we're using optical character recognition, and we're looking at the user interface that is rendered on the screen and having a computer look at both the code and the picture and go, is this first name field the right label for this form field? And then you'll notice in our intelligent guided testing, we're actually asking you, the human, the label text was detected for this field as first name. Does that text serve the same purpose? So we are using AI to assist you to focus on the one question that you, the human, need to ask and answer. And then I'm excited that we're seeing great positive results on our object detection model for tables. That looks like a table. It's not marked up as a table. That looks like a table header cell. That's not marked up as a table header cell. We can do this with things that look like divs. And we're currently able to do this object detection with artificial intelligence for forms, form fields, labels, data tables, and interactive elements. And there's more to come. We're just at the beginning. I'm showing a complex chart on screen, and I told you that human-centric ethical AI is critical, assuming you have that good foundation. You've included humans, you have a heart, you care about accessibility. You need a big store of accessibility data. It's a strategic asset. And one of the things that's fueling DQ's ability to do this research is every time a person uses Axe Dev tools and they have said it's okay for us to capture the data, our tool captures the data, deduplicates it, puts it through a computer vision model, and then we have humans correct the model and feed it back through so that the model results are being reviewed by humans, and then we can redeploy it and improve the process. And in the center there, we have computer AI doing the assisted labeling and also adding additional user interface targeting data. And so for all of this to work, there are a lot of pieces where the computer is working really hard, and then there are key steps where the human is involved and that human has to care. So with this, we are fortunate to have a lot of data to work with and a lot of experts inside to make sure that the data is accurate and correct. So I ask you, artificial intelligence and the Goldilocks zone. Now that you've met the three bears and you know where we are in our accessibility progress over the decades, what are we going to do with artificial intelligence? Are we going to say that artificial intelligence is too hot, or it's too cold? Or are we going to pick what's just right? If you Google the Goldilocks zone, it actually is a scientific theory relating to our Earth, where human life can be sustained on Earth, and it's too cold on Jupiter and it's too hot on Mercury. So it's a lovely little theory, but I hope that more of you at the end of this session are in the just right pragmatic use of ethical AI, and that instead of being too optimistic that AI can do everything, or too pessimistic, AI can't do it all perfectly, so we can't use it at all, that we're going to fall in the middle. That AI with ethical human guidance can break down accessibility barriers that a ton of us have been working on for over 3 decades and haven't made near the progress that we've wanted. So with that, tell me what fun questions have come in as we consider how to do accessibility for good.
Awesome. Thanks, Glenda. So there are some questions in the chat, and while we go over these, we have about 12 more minutes. So if there's any other questions that come up, please add them. So this first one's from Josh, and they ask, I understand AI isn't here to take our jobs, but a lot of business leaders do see AI as replacing certain roles. And even if AI can't detect everything, they feel it's a reasonable financial risk. How do you see accessibility workers being able to combat this perspective and justify their value to leaders?
Yeah, that's a really great question, Josh. And I think that there will be some mistakes made. That there will be some leaders that they need to look at the Goldilocks zone. They're going to have been too optimistic. They're going to go too hot, and they're going to get burnt when they do that. What's fortunate for us is I think that the need for accessibility experts so outweighs the availability that if that is happening to you, go get on A11Y chat and find a new job if it's gotten too grim. On the other hand, you can show them presentations that show how important the human expert is, and that it's not just pulling out a little robot that only has half-baked data, so that we can actually do a high quality of work.
And I kind of a follow-up, Glenda, question to that. So, like with self-driving cars, one of the debates is how good do they have to be, right?
Yeah.
We know
Yeah.
people cause accidents. So I
Yeah.
kind of have the same question applied to accessibility. In your opinion, your thoughts, how good does it have to be?
Yeah. And I think that that's really important when we're talking about a self-driving car. If there's no override, if there's no human paying attention, and this results in death or permanently hurting someone, that's not okay. The nice thing about many of the places that we're doing our work is that it's not a life or death situation. And what I've seen is huge bottlenecks where if we try to do it all manually, the wait time to even get the manual review, to even get one page looked at, is 6 months from now. And you're sitting there looking at it, you're finally testing that one page 6 months from now that needed to be tested 6 months ago. And the developer is going to change it in an hour. We're kidding ourselves if we think us demanding 100% manual testing, we're ever going to win. we're going to lose. You've got to representatively pick what you're going to do and then focus your human brain, and we can get AI to help us focus. So we experts might get to use more of our higher brain. Are y'all getting a lot of jollies out of saying this image is missing alt text and this form field is missing a label? I mean, I'd rather use my higher brain.
Yeah, and I like you mentioned representative, right? Like sampling, it comes into play a lot there. So we have a few other questions. So this one's actually just about kind of Axe Pro. So is the intelligent guided test tool something that can only be used in environments by the people developing the website or app? Or does something that, say, a tester can use when it's a third-party application in like IT procurement?
So the intelligent guided testing tool that's inside our Axe Dev tools can be used by anyone that downloads Axe Dev tools. I will say that portion, there's a big chunk of Axe Dev tools that is free. The intelligent guided testing piece is not free. I know there's a trial period where you can try it out and see if you like it, but you can use that on third party. It is currently, that piece is designed for web interfaces, but you can use it on absolutely anybody's web interface.
Awesome. So what are there's a few upvotes on this. What are some tips or tricks to kind of cut through the AI buzzword? They notice that lots of times we're hearing automation, automated testing, autocomplete. They're just spun as AI now. Like, so how do we cut through that buzzword and know what it's talking about?
I really think that I had a hard time approaching this. Somebody asked me to write a white paper on AI, and I'm like, I can't. I'm not an expert on AI. And so I think one of the things I can do, and I'll have to share this after this, but there's a course in Coursera that I took that really helped me understand what is artificial intelligence and what is not. And up at the beginning, at the top of the presentation, it's using artificial intelligence to do something that only a human could have done by analyzing data. And so that was visual or speech or looking at complex patterns. It's not just simple automation, but it's actually replacing human knowledge and intelligence. And then the high end of it is when it's going to replace me and everything that I do. I actually look back at the previous revolutions in our industry or in our world, and I think back to farming and the Industrial Revolution, and then we've been in the information revolution right now, and now we're already in the AI revolution. And I think somebody mentioned it over in chat. We have to learn how to use AI, just like we had to learn how to use computers to be successful.
That's great. So do you know of good fillable form creation tools for accessibility?
Fillable form creation tools for accessibility. I'm not sure that I know the answer to that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe Christy, if you could give clarification. So
and put it in regular chat, because if I don't understand it, somebody else in the chat might be, because we've got a great audience in chat.
Yeah. Can and perhaps should AI be used to perform many basic accessibility functions in documents?
You know, Brian, I'm glad you asked that, because one thing, I'm going to play off that a little bit. One thing that I didn't mention is, earlier I said, I've been trying to teach accessibility to as many people as I could for over 20 years. And when I think about Code Pilot generating code for developers, and I think, oh my gosh, what if I can teach, and I know that they are trying to do this, the major code generation engines like Copilot to make accessible code. It's going to get it right every time. And even if there may be maybe there are going to be 1,000 code generation engines, but if the majority of web interfaces and native mobile interfaces are coming through like 4 or 5 of these code generations, y'all, I think we're about to make a leap forward, because we can stop. So as you're asking, many basic accessibility functions in documents, like alt text for images and tables that are properly labeled and heading structure, if we can catch you as you're actually creating it. And it's so important when we're asking you the alt text for the image. Is this alt text appropriate for the image in the way you're using the image? You, the creator. That's exactly what we need to do.
Yeah, I love that when you can get the content creator, give them feedback, help them, and just solve it right at the source, right there.
Yep. Yep. And as I've been doing, I'll admit, while watching baseball games at night, I sometimes will be cleaning up the accessibility of decks that are going to be going out. And I was shocked the other day when I saw the generated alt text for an image. It had improved. Like in the past, I used to just giggle at them because they were so bad. I was like, none of the ones that were auto-generated for me are going to have any use whatsoever. I'm going to rewrite them all. And it was nice that they were separated, so that I could spot them and go clean them all up. And there were some in there the other day, and I was like, I didn't write that. Oh, Microsoft did that.
That's great, and especially when it writes that and then gives you the chance to
to review it.
Human review, like what you're talking about. Yep.
Exactly.
There's another question. This one was in the chat, but just kind of seeing how AI applies to complex data sets and charts and making them accessible.
What I'll say is that there are people working on that. And there's a friend of mine, his name is Doug Sheppers, and he's all about data visualization and accessibility. And I think that the more complex the problem, the harder it's going to be for us to get into, but it is completely doable. It just takes feeding the right imagery in, labeling it correctly by an intelligent human that understands what that all means and how to make it accessible, and then feeding it a whole bunch of models to test off of, and then looking at the results. Did it get it? Did it get it? Did it get it? Because we're actually dealing in this situation with the work that we're doing at DeQ with much simpler elements. Like, does this letter have enough contrast with this background around it? Does this thing that looks like a button, is it triggerable? We're at a much simpler and narrower, but I think that those things will be. And one more thing, have you used the follow that car function in front of you in your car? If we
like the radar, yeah.
The amount of, so I know this is conceivable to solve when I think about all the things that our cars are doing for us, as well as other things that are watching us and reading our facial expressions and all kinds of things. All of this can be done. When will it be done for our complex data viz? I'm not in the center of that one yet. That would be maybe a year or so out.